You were given about a $2,000 MacBook to use, and within, I think, 2 days of having it, within 2 days of having this $2,000 MacBook, you spilled coffee all over it and ruined it. So tell me how that happened.
Coming at you, about to teach you a lesson. When it comes to code, you know he's never guessing. So if you think you want to learn to go and code things, get on up to Lesson on Coding.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Lesson on Coding. My name is Ryan Lesson. So today we got a very fun podcast for you today. I'm actually Skyping in a very good friend of mine to join me. So we have him on right now, so why don't you go introduce yourself. Sam, say what's up.
Hi, my name's Sam Gendelman. I am a programmer and current student at Michigan State.
Awesome, man. Yeah. So Sam and I, some of you may know, Sam and I have worked together on many projects. Him and I always text each other. We keep in close contact about just new trends in the programming industry, just what's going on and everything. And I wanted to bring Sam on. Sam, I wanted to bring you on because you're an engineering student right now. And I want to know more about the whole engineering curriculum at Michigan State. You know, who better to talk to than someone who's currently in the program? Yeah. So let's just get started, man. Let's ask you this. So what got you into choosing computer science as your major?
So as a major, computer science kind of always stood out to me. As a kid, I've always been into computers, and I mean, a lot of kids these days play video games. We're on the internet a lot, so a lot of that stuff really interests me, and I think it might interest a lot of other people as well. So if you really are interested in computers, like someone like myself, then it's a great pickup, and it's awesome.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. You know, for me, I'm kind of jealous because I didn't really get into the whole computer science and programming until a little bit later than you. You know, probably not till I was at least 20. So I'm kind of jealous that you have a couple years on me of experience, you know, starting off early. So the first thing I want to do is let's talk about this. People always say the engineering is really hard, like it's a really hard curriculum, it's hard. So why don't you go over like what's an average day in the life? And just to let everyone know, I think we kind of missed it. Sammy, where do you go to school right now?
So I'm going to Michigan State University, go Green. And,
go White.
I'm a junior currently as well.
Awesome, man. Yeah, so give me kind of the day in the life, a quick like rundown of like how much work you have, what's your class load like, things like that.
All right. So when people say engineering is hard, I wouldn't say hard as much as it is challenging. If you really wanted something to really kind of leave you wondering how else could I do that, do engineering. But the normal day in the life really looks kind of like you'll probably wake up in the morning, depending on what time your earliest class is. I like to have my classes in the afternoon. Go to class. I pay attention pretty well. And then after class, it's pretty much you're doing computer projects, doing homework, doing what needs to be done. I go to help room a lot, and there's no shame in really going into help room. It's probably one of the best places to be as a computer engineer or computer science engineer because the TAs there are like PhD students, master students, so they really know what they're doing, and you can learn a lot from them and meet some other people in your major as well.
Gotcha. So I know you've been telling me lately there's a lot of homework associated with it. What's your work, social life balance like, Like, are you able to go out a lot, meet a lot of people, or is schoolwork, very tedious and keeping you up really late at night?
So my suggestion is for any incoming computer science freshman or sophomore, if you're in computer science, your first 2 years of college are going to be more relaxed than your last 2 years. So it's not for your freshman and sophomore year, you have some time to go out because you're just kind of getting introduction to computer science. And I found that during my junior year, this year is the year where I'm really spending a lot of time in help room on homework and stuff. And you really meet some of your best friends or like greatest friends in help room, in your classes, because it's almost like you have a common struggle together. You both have maybe this challenging project you're both working on, so you're both in help room kind of giving each other advice, and that kind of turns into you guys hanging out, and it really builds a lot of great relationships. You're meeting a lot of smart people in the end. It's really awesome to go there.
Yeah, that definitely brings a lot of good rapport. So, touch on kind of like, what do you do for fun? Like, how much, like, are you able to go to the bars? Because I know some people engineering majors are so swamped they're not able to go out. Catch me up, yeah. I mean, we want to know. Let the people know, Sam.
Okay, so we definitely, engineers like to have fun as much as the rest.
Yes,
in fact,
yes. It's a common misconception, man. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's a common misconception. And they think, oh, they just like to program all night and play video games. No, they like to have a lot of fun.
No. We go hard. No, not.
Yeah.
We put in the time and effort. So as much as anyone else who really wants to work, when it comes time to relaxing, we really want to enjoy the time relaxing. We're regular college students like the rest of everyone on campus. It's not like we're like crawled up in some dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
But if we are, I mean, then like we love doing it, and we still make fun out of it. It's not like we sit there and do that day in, day out. We still like to get out and see people as well. It's a lot of fun, and a lot of people in engineering there's some pretty cool people in engineering.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I definitely agree. Yeah, so thanks for answering those questions. So what I want to kind of move into, so we're going to talk about your personal work, because I know you're working on a lot of cool products, but first I wanted to talk into, a big question I get asked, from people in college is internships. And you've had 2 internships, right?
Yes.
So kind of, talk about both of them and, kind of how you got them and, yeah, like projects you've worked on with them.
All right, so my first thing I've ever done, and this is kind of an advice for anyone. This is like advice from like kind of a novice programmer, and I've been programming for 2 years, and I still consider myself kind of novice because I'm learning so much that I haven't known before. Is literally dive into something. That's literally what happened with my first internship. Is that I went to Texas to work with under Ryan himself.
Hey.
And he gave me, he really, it was more of not him kind of babying me through the process. Ryan would say, here is a task or a project, a mini project to do. I want you to throw it on GitHub. You need to figure out GitHub. Like I'll teach you maybe how GitHub works, but you're going to throw it on GitHub. I'm going to tell you how you could have done it better, and we're going to move on to the next project. And I started off with doing JavaScript, pretty simple stuff, learning HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and just using an online course is literally as easy as that, just paying attention, going along with it. Then I moved on to learn the Angular framework, and just literally learned that from watching a video, and then built my own mean stack app.
Yeah.
My second internship was at a company called Tyler Technologies, and I actually the best part about internships as well is that you get to meet some wonderful people.
Absolutely, yeah.
And there I worked on some applications that were used live in the company. I built kind of a hub that would start up Tyler's other applications, and we turned that into a web app rather than having it on the Windows app. Really interesting stuff. And not only that, I mean, you can go beyond your internships and kind of do what interests you and use the stuff you've learned in your internships in real life. So it's really a lot of cool stuff.
Absolutely. So you touched on how you got your first internship. How did you get your second internship at Tyler Tech? Like, how did you meet recruiters? Kind of go over that.
Okay. So interview process is something that I have a couple of friends who actually are a little bit shy with the whole interview process as well. So, I mean, if you're one of the people that are saying like, oh, I struggle with kind of having these short elevator speeches or conversation with people, what you really got to do is exactly kind of you can follow my steps of what I do. Is I go up to the person. You got to introduce your name, get their name, kind of, have a little mingle kind of about what the company does if you're not aware of it. Because I think one of the most important steps of how I got my other internship was knowing what the company does.
Yes, that's huge. It's absolutely huge to know what they do. Yeah. You're totally right. Companies want to know that you want to work there, for sure.
Yes. And then you are the only person that can tell the HR representative or whoever's there to represent the company of what you can bring to the company. So really go over, say, if you have any questions that are on my resume, I'm an open book to answering anything. Bring up some past experiences that can relate with whatever the company's presenting. The company says, oh, we use Agile. I can say, you know what, in my last internship, I was a product owner, or,
Absolutely, yes. Experience is key, for sure.
Yeah, like, even if you don't have experience, if you bring up these relatable, if they're still relatable, towards programming, towards anything, like, I had a team building project once, and this is how I communicated, and we used email and stuff. It doesn't even have to really be programming related. As long as you can sound like you have the experience, which you most likely do have, then you should be able to land yourself in any position that you want.
Amen, man, dude. You said it perfectly. Yeah, dude, that was awesome. So what I wanted to talk about, and I know you wanted to talk about this as well, is how do you build a network? And I kind of wanted to go over some steps of how to build a network, when you're starting off, and I want to hear some ways that you have done to build your own personal network. So one way that I noticed that was huge was having your own website. That's the number one thing you should have, is your own website. Now, I used to have a website with my resume and all this stuff on it, but it got removed because I didn't pay the server, obviously, who was hosting it, and they removed it. But I'm going to be making another one, but I think that's step one, is having your own website. And step two is blowing up GitHub and posting on your own personal website, and, being active on LinkedIn and stuff like that, and really reaching out there. I mean, the thing is, people say, like, now I know how to code. Like, I don't know what project to code. Like, what should I code? I mean, you don't need to think of it yourself. Like, you could just Google apps, and then apps will pop up, like, cool apps to build. And you'll see so many inspiration and ideas from other people out there. I mean, look on GitHub. There's so many projects on there that you get inspired from to replicate yourself or build on. So tell me, what ways are you building your own personal network currently?
Well, just like you said, Ryan, having a LinkedIn, a lot of people don't have LinkedIn. And, I'm always like, well, the first thing you should be doing is creating your LinkedIn, and I tell them you can look at my profile and use that as a template for your own if you don't have one and you don't know where to go. Guys, LinkedIn is very important. It's every job fair I go to. If I talk to a person, I'm asking them for their business card. Can I connect with you on LinkedIn? Even if you don't pursue them, you still have them as a connection. Say I don't intern at company X and I intern at company Y for the summer instead. After I graduate college, if company Y doesn't want me back, I still have the recruiter's information for company X. You can say, hi, I met you at this job fair before. Do you mind if we can have a conversation or talk about any open positions that company X is having? And it's really like, you have to build your own kind of spider web in this case. And the only person that can really do that is yourself. And it's just as easy as asking the person if it's okay if you connect with them on LinkedIn. Like, they'll say yes almost 100% of the time. Unless they have a business card or something. But then I just take their information down on pad and paper.
Absolutely. And honestly, I think just reaching out, doing like a cold connect on LinkedIn is perfect too. Like, just go through the recommended, see, like, if you want to work at a company, I mean, look who works at that company and follow them on LinkedIn. A lot of people are active, they post what's going on, and you could post your own work on LinkedIn too. That's something I don't see developers doing enough of, is posting your work on LinkedIn, because that's where recruiters are looking for programmers. They're looking on LinkedIn and they want to see experience. And so if you be like, hey, all my experience, you can just go right from my LinkedIn. It's a perfect. It works really well for you and it gets you a lot of exposure.
Know the company as well. Do some research on them. Know what they do. Know where they're placed. Are they a Big Four company? You should know that. Do you talk to X on the phone? You should be, hey, I was interested in your company. I talked to Johnson on the phone, and we had a great conversation about it, wondering if there's any positions available. And what the recruiter will actually do is he'll go to Johnson and say, I got an email from this person saying that you talked to him. Do you remember Sam? And he'll say, yeah, I think I remember that guy. I talked to him at this one place. He seemed like a really great guy. I think you should give him a chance. Because you have to understand that when people are working on the job, it's just as normal as seeing someone in the dorm or seeing someone in your apartment that you know, like your neighbor.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's like a normal conversation they might have, and you want to be brought up in that conversation.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. All right, awesome. Thanks for touching on that, Sam. So let's move on. So I talked about this earlier. I want to know personally what you have done to build projects. You're working on a lot of cool stuff that you were kind of briefly talking to me about. So why don't you go a little bit more in depth? Why don't you talk about what you were currently just talking to me about before this podcast? Why don't you start with that?
All right, perfect. So for any of you technology people, any networking people, or just people that have developed any socket applications, a little bit more advanced here. I'm currently developing a Python bot for a current web application that myself, a friend of mine that I met at a previous internship, and his friend are building. And I was working on just making simple TCP requests, which is basically me sending data to the application so that the application can act based on what I send it. So it's kind of like user input across a web connection, which is really cool stuff in my opinion. And the application we're building is a AI, it's called AI Bracket. And it basically, we give the clients games that they can play by submitting an AI that basically will be thrown together with another AI on our website, and they'll compete in a bracket, and whoever wins, we kind of build a leaderboard based off of that. Now, it's still in production, so right now, you can see it in the near future. We plan on trying to get this done within the next 2 months, but it's stuff like that. If you really go in depth, it doesn't even need to be as in depth as making a socket or TCP. You can just literally make an application and throw it on GitHub, and it's like stuff like that really catches the people's eye, because you can see this type of solution being implemented in a business environment.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I mean, you're totally correct. I like what you said is that you found the people to work on this project with you from your last internship. But I would even go on to say that you can meet them totally online. You don't need to know the person,
yes,
to work on a project with them. I mean, there's so many ways to collaborate nowadays. It's more overdoing than being like, oh, I can't find it. No, it's out there. You just need to, do it,
Yeah, I agree. I agree a lot.
Awesome. So we'll talk about briefly, I don't want to go too much into this, but how much of your degree right now at Michigan State relates to real world programming that you've done at your internships that they do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I can go into this. So it depends on the program and what college you go to. That is kind of first step, right? Because you can be going into the best computer science program at MIT, and they will teach you everything ins and outs. But when you're going into computer science, you really should have a focus in mind, because that focus is what you're probably going to get the most out of when you're in college. And because college teaches a lot of low-level programming, which is what people don't really expect. And then when they get put in the real world, they're like, wait, I learned assembly language in C or Java, and here I am programming JavaScript.
Yeah, you're using a high-level language. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And there are some classes that definitely cover that. I can't not give credit to the classes where they're due, but some of them might not delve into kind of the topics that you want to be focused on. So that's why I would really suggest doing some research in focuses of computer science so that you know what you can kind of get into when you're at school. Because I think there's a lot of really useful information that you might get out of school that would be harder to kind of learn by yourself. But there's also a lot of stuff in school that you can really teach yourself better than school can teach you.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people, they're like, oh, they think they just go to college with a computer science degree, then everyone's going to want them. You know what I mean? And then they get there, and a lot of times I find out, that, oh, it's more high-level stuff. It's more creating applications, more being creative. It's more stuff like that. It's more working with a team. So
yeah, it's a lot of teamwork. A lot of teamwork is on the field. So
absolutely. Awesome, man. Awesome. So I want to ask you two more questions. First is a two-part question. So give me, yeah, I know, challenging you here. So give me what you love about programming and give me what you hate about programming. But let's start with what you hate. What do you dislike most about programming? Or actually, you know what? Not programming in general. Let's talk about your major, like what you're doing at school. So give me what you don't like about your major. Huh?
Okay, what I don't major. Currently, what I don't like about my major is that we either go for some of the classes that really kind of hit my interests, algorithms, for example. I like operating systems. We kind of delve into something, and it might be interesting, but sometimes the classes have a tendency to dive too far to the point where it's like, okay, I get the point, right? Like, this is where I want my focus to be here, but this class delves too far beyond my focus at this point, whereas if like some of it might be a plot. And I saw some of that during my algorithms class where it's like, okay, I like graphs, the data structure, but how can let's see some implementations of like how graphs in the real world work rather than, in this kind of fictional made up example.
Yeah. So what do you like most about your major?
So I'll go back to my current example. I'm currently taking operating systems. That class by itself is not an easy class, but I find it really interesting because the projects let us explore kind of the nature of operating systems, and you might hear a lot of people complain, but if you're willing to kind of delve and play around with that type of stuff, you kind of end up learning a lot more than what like the teacher originally intended on teaching you. So, getting that kind of hands-on experience in that department and low-level department, it's really nice in my opinion, and it's really nice if you wanted to go kind of towards embedded systems and networking and whatnot. Maybe not so much networking, but I think you kind of get the picture of where I'm going.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. All right, man, so got one last thing to talk about with you. So, at your TechZena internship 2 years ago, there was a little mistake you had. You were given about a $2,000 MacBook to use, and within, I think, 2 days of having this $2,000 MacBook, you spilled coffee all over it and ruined it. So tell me how that happened.
Well, I think I hear someone calling my name. I have to...
No, you sit down right there. You sit down and you tell me what happened.
So... how I handled it?
Let's how it happened and just how you handled it,
Okay, so I mean, first mistake is never have an open thing of liquid next to your computer. That's the biggest lesson. And I mean, even though it sounds pretty dumb, sometimes you'll find yourself in that situation. You'll be like, I don't feel like covering it up. But next off, how you handle it is honestly, you can't lie about that stuff.
Yeah.
You gotta go, it's one thing if the company catches you, it's one thing if you do something bad, you know.
Yeah, if you do it on purpose, yeah.
It might not even be that bad, right? Like, but it's another thing if you don't admit to it and instead lie, and then get caught by your whatever company that you're currently employed for. All I'm saying is don't take the easy route, especially when you're in some like hard problems. And this can be applied to more than just like this kind of mistake situation that I had. Right? Like sometimes it's easier to just, you know, take your whatever you're going to be given punishment wise. And even if you aren't punished, you need to learn from your mistake and like definitely own up to it.
Yeah.
My biggest advice.
Completely agree. And yeah, basically what happened was, you know, Sam owned up to it and they gave him a new laptop. But I just wanted to talk about that because, you know, some people are so nervous about bad things happening at, you know, their first internship at a company, and you had one and you handled it professionally and everything went well for you, you know, which was awesome. So thanks for touching on that. So Sam, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're very busy to come on this podcast and chat with me.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed being on here.
Yeah. All right, guys. So be sure to subscribe to me and leave a like on this video at Lesson on Coding on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram at Lesson on Coding, and I'm on Twitter now. So follow me on Twitter at Lesson on Coding. All right, thank you again, Sam, and take care, guys.
Subscribe here.
All right.